Hello to everyone. So I'm going to present you the project of the predictive maintenance in public works for the Charrier company, and especially how we want to use a Bayesian network to prevent breakdowns on hydraulic systems for crawler excavators. So firstly, I'm going to introduce myself quickly. So my name is Yann Coriou. I started working for Charrier 2 years ago. I started with an internship in the context of my studies, as I was doing an engineering school in applied mathematics. And so then I did 1 year of work study contract. And since September 2020, I'm working now full-time with Charrier as a data scientist on the project of predictive maintenance. So firstly, I'm going to introduce you to the Charrier company, so to show you what we do and who we are. So first thing you want to know is that we are a public works company and also a family-owned company since it was founded in 1897. And so it's the Charrier family who owns the company, and it's now the 5th generation of shareholders who are running the business, and soon it will be the 6th generation. I put also some key numbers of 2020, so it's just that you have a look at the size of the company. So we are 1,600 employees, and we have a lot of different sites and locations that I will show you a bit later. So to say what are our fields of applications, so we have quarries and recycling sites. We do also some road works and urban works. We are now also doing some landscaping, so it's pretty new since we only acquired 2 companies that are doing some landscaping in 2021. So it's a brand new application for us, but it's very interesting. We also do some dismantling, some earthworks, and some civil engineering. So that's our location. You can see it's mainly in the west of France. For all the road and urban works and the quarries is mostly around the area of Nantes and Saint-Nazaire. For the dismantling part, it's in all the west of France and also in Paris. And for civil engineering, maritime works and earthworks, it can be all around France. And we also want to try to develop ourselves abroad. So now that you know a little bit more about Charrier, I'm going to present you the context of the predictive maintenance project because it's part of a bigger project that we call the Connected Equipment Project. So as you can hear from the title of this project, the Connected Equipment Project comes from the preparation of telematic data in our field of action. So indeed, there are more and more machines in our equipment fleet that are equipped with technology of telematic data. So this telematic data tells us, for example, how many hours the machine has worked today and throughout all its life. We also have some data over fuel consumptions, some idle rate, some alerts about the dysfunctionments of the machine. And so the base of the project was to exploit this data and to add value to this data and not let it sleep or not use it. And the second axis of this project is about the global cost of breakdowns. Well, in our industry, the cost of breakdowns is a major subject because it can be very costful for 2 different reasons. So you have firstly the direct cost of a breakdown, which is simply the cost of the repair of the machine. So if you have to buy a new piece, or if you have to buy If you have to pay a technician to do a maintenance intervention, this is the direct cost of the breakdown. Then there is the indirect cost of the breakdown. It's, for example, if your machine is stopped on a production site, well, you're going to lose time and on that site, or maybe you will have to rent another machine to do the work instead. And then you have to pay for it. So you're losing either time or money. And so that is another cost for breakdown. And the last type of cost is the effect of on the lifetime of the machine. So as I work in the equipment service of the company, I'm well aware that this is a big subject for the company to optimize the lifetime of the machines, because either you want it to last the longest lifetime possible, or either you want it to sell after maybe 10 years of utilization. But if you want to sell it, you have to maintain it in good health. And so in order to do that, you have to prevent it from having breakdowns or severe damages. So these are the three possible impacts of breakdowns on a machine. And the last axis of our project is the development of our CMMS. So CMMS, it stands for Computer Maintenance Management Service System. And so it's an app that our IT team developed in the context of that project. And it allows us to have all the information that we want on our equipment and on the fleet. So if you select a machine, then you can have access to the global information like weight, age of the machine, type, and you have also access to all the maintenance intervention, the intervention that are planned for the future, and also the telematic data, the breakdowns that occur before on this machine. So it's a very complete system that helps us to follow really closely our equipment. So here are a few numbers about our equipment fleets. So we have 200 machines that are connected with telematic data, and it represents around 55% of our fleet. So when I say 55%, I only include the type of machines that are presented in this slide, like crawler tractors, loaders, dumpers, and excavators, because other equipments we don't have yet any telematic on them, so they're not really interesting in terms of this project. So I'm just saying this is 55% of this machine, because we have other types of machine, but it's less concerning the construction works, and so I'm sticking to this kind of equipment for the project. And this is a number that will continue to grow since, as we buy new machines, they are always connected now. So the part of the connected machines will only grow in the future. And it's important to know that all of our connected machines are only reported in between four major brands. So it's Caterpillar, Volvo, Liebherr, and Komatsu. So we have also other machines from other brands, but they are never connected machines. So you may think this is not an important information, but it's still a bit important, because when you have a strategy to buy machines, you have to have at least several brands, so that you have a lot of different options when you buy a machine. But also, the more brands you have, the more it is difficult to have interaction with them. And I noticed it also when I arrived in Changé, because one of the first subject was to check if the telematic data from all those brands was uniform or not, and it was not. So the first work was to have a uniform data set, and it's not very easy, because each brand has its own way of computing the data and of calculating rates, for example, the idle rates are calculated differently between the brands. Well, now it's a bit better because they have to respect some rules. So they have a common base of data that they gave us. But for example, for the alerts, it's still very different from one brand to another. So now I'm going to present you a bit the first approach that we had on the predictive maintenance project. And before that, I'm going to present you the data that was available to exploit this project. So there was not only the telematic data, even if it was the base of the project, we also had to search and gather a whole lot of other types of data. So, for example, we had the breakdown and maintenance register, which we can collect thanks to our CMMS. So, for example, we have the maintenance interventions for every machine for all the time. And we also have a breakdown register, but we only started it in 2019. So we only have a history of breakdowns since January of 2019. We have data from our external partners. So, for example, when we want to have an intervention on flexible hoses, we always always use the same partner, which is called Chronoflex, so they can provide us the data of the intervention that they do on our machines. And also we have the oil analysis that we are doing with Total. We give them some sample of the oil of our machines, and they can analyze it, see if there is some pollution, some contamination, or some usage rates on this oil. We also have the generic data on the equipment that I mentioned before, so the age, the type that we have in our CMMS. We also have a usage report from the field, like when someone uses a machine, they have to do a daily report to say how many hours they used it, and most importantly, on which site they use it. So then you can know on which site and in which context the machine was used on one day. And we can also use some external data like the weather data or environment data that can be useful for modeling. So to present you the goals and difficulty of the first approach of this project, the original goal was to have a model that could provide the time and the location of the breakdown. So when I say the location, is the location on the machine, like on which part of the machine is the risk of breakdown. And the first approach that we had, it was to do a classical machine learning approach, as we can see in the industry, for example, when they do predictive maintenance. However, this goal was way too ambitious for our resources and for a machine learning approach. As for example, in the industry, it's mostly used on non-moving machines and in stable context, whereas in the public works, our machines are working mainly outdoors in very various contexts. So it's more difficult to just put the sensor and analyze it. We can't really work like that in this context. And so the two major difficulties that we encountered was the complexity and diversity of the breakdowns that we encounter, because there can be very, very many different types of breakdowns. And that's why the idea of having a unique model is very, very difficult. And also a relatively low number of breakdowns registered. So even if we started 2.5 years ago, it's still quite low compared to other predictive maintenance projects where usually they have a 10-year history of breakdowns on their equipment and on a larger fleet. so they have much more data. So to have new solutions against those difficulties, an idea was to use a Bayesian network. So this idea came when I was in my year of work study contract, because I had a course with Emmanuel Keita about Bayesian Lab. And so the advantages of Bayesian network were that it's supposed to be used with smaller data, and also the graphical aspect and the fact that models can be clearer for someone who is not initiated to data science is also a very big advantage, because in the public works it's very new to use data science and to use this kind of techniques. So it's much more clear for someone who doesn't know anything about data science to see a Bayesian network than to see some type of classical machine learning model. And we worked with Emmanuel Keita and then with Michel Reich about this project, and we mainly did a new definition of our goals by separating the different types of failure, and setting the fact that what we needed to do was to separate the model given the type of failures. So we identified 4 major types of breakdowns, which are the motor and kinematic chain, hydraulic system, flexible hoses, and electrical issues. But we still had a lack of data on those breakdowns, because, for example, if we take the entire register of breakdowns, we have almost 3,000 breakdowns. But if you just take a specific type of breakdown on a specific type of machine, because you can't really compare two machines that are not the same type. And if you only take the connected part of it, because that's what we are interested in this project, well, then you don't have more than 100 occurrences on one breakdown. So that's why we figured out the solution to this problem was to add an expert knowledge to our model construction. And so that's why we decided to do a BK training, so with Lionel, and by forming a group of experts about the maintenance of hydraulic system on excavators. So the group of experts was thought to be very polyvalent, because we wanted people to be experts in various fields. So we had 4 of our maintenance workshop managers, so 2 coming from the roads and urban works, 1 from the dismantling and earthworking, and 1 who is responsible for the queries of our company. So these managers are responsible for one or a few agencies, and they are responsible for all the equipment of these agencies. And so their job is to make sure that they can maintain the machine in good health, and so that they can be available for the production. We also had our 2 equipment managers. So their job is to buy the machine and follow the whole equipment fleet on the whole company, and make sure that we have an equipment fleet that can provide the needs of the exploitation. We also had 1 hydraulic technician, who isn't part of our company, so he's an external partner, and he's working for us on particle counter. So it's a counter that you put on the hydraulic system, and it analyzes the oil going through the hydraulic system in real time, and it can say if the rate of big particles in the oil is too high or not. And if it's too high, it can give an alert, and you know that you have to fix something about the hydraulic system. And also part of the group were so Lionel Jouf, who was the supervisor of the group, and me, who I had to make sure that the goals of the training was well defined and that we were following it during the training. So I'm going to talk about the challenges and the methodology of this expert session. So the first challenge was to define the goal of our session. And so the goal was to put the focus, as I said, on the hydraulic system of crawler excavators. We chose this because it's part of the most numerous breakdown that we have. So it was either the hydraulic system or the motor and kinematic chain, because it's the breakdowns that we encounter the most. And we decided to choose the hydraulic system because it was probably easier to do a model about this than for the motor. So for the first time, we choose to do this, and we choose to do it only on excavator because it's the machine that we use the most. So one major challenge was to model the complexity of the system, because you can see there is a scheme on a hydraulic system of an excavator. It's very complex, and we can't do a precise modelization of this with a Bayesian network. So what we decided to do is to model the health state of the hydraulic system. So I'm going to present it a bit later, but you can see on the picture it's the excavator. And so the hydraulic system is the system that is used to move the arm of the excavator. So you just put some oil on different pressure to the pump, and it allows the arm of the excavator to move and to do movement that are required to do the work. So the methodology that we used was at first to do a brainstorming with all different causes that could have a possible breakdown or even just a degradation on the hydraulic system. And as we were doing the brainstorming, we were also organizing all the factors that were mentioned in different blocks. So you can see the 4 different blocks. The first one is the pollution and contamination block, which was probably the most important and also the most complex to model, because when there is a pollution, it can occur a degradation, but it also goes in the other ways, where when there is a degradation, there will be a pollution after. So it was really difficult to have a good modelization of this system. And we have also the other blocks, so the oil, the quality of the oil, the quality of the maintenance on the machine, and the usage of the machine. That is to say, to see if the machine is as a rather hard usage or soft usage during its lifetime. And so once we define those blocks, we build the model block by block. Say we started with the pollution block, then with the oil, maintenance, and then the usage, and then assemble the blocks together. So to give you a preview of Beaky and how it works, we had 3 full days of training. So we had 3 full days to do the brainstorming, and then the constitution of the blocks, and then to build the model itself and the links between the factors. And so you can see in the lower part of the slide, there is a question, which is how it works in the Beaky training. When you want to link one factor to another, each time you ask questions to the experts. So here it's about the impact of the human factor. So we wanted to see if there was, for this question, for example, it's if there is no human factor, what will be the impact? And so the experts will answer, on 10% of time, it will have an impact, and on 19% of time it will have no impact since there is no factory element. So that's what you can see on the upper part of the slide. You can see that all the answers of the experts are computed, and it gives you the link between one factor to another. And also during this training, it was also a lot of debates about how you arrange the nodes between themselves. So this is what I told about, for example, the pollution block. There were a lot of debates as well. Either it's pollution that brings the degradation, or it's the other way, or so mostly it depends on the time. But a lot of debates about that. So to give you quick feedbacks about this training from the group of experts, they had a big interest and involvement in the training, even though at the beginning they had some trouble with the virtual world and the technology, because they were not used to that. So I can go backward and show you. You can see the training took place in the Laval virtual world. So it was quite new for them, but after one afternoon where we tested all the things of the virtual world, they were really well adapted to it, and then they were really involved in the training, mostly because they are passionate about the technical part of this project. So they could have a good debates about it. And they also said that these debates were very useful for them because they don't really have the time to exchange between themselves during the normal work days. And so now they could also exchange a lot of good manners about how maintenance should be organized, for example, on the hydraulic system. And we also felt that the presence of an expert coming from outside the company, so the hydraulic technician, was very positive because he had a point of view that was very different from our experts. First, because he's not in the same company, and second, because he had a maybe more theoretical point of view, so about hydraulic system. So he has could bring a new vision to the debate, and that was very, very interesting. So to conclude a bit, I'm going to show you a summary of the model and talk a bit about the IT integration of it in our system. So this is what the final model looks like. So you can see the big part here in the left is about the pollution. So we had to split it in two parts. We had the internal pollution and the external pollution, whereas the internal pollution is more about degradation inside coming from inside the system when there is, like, for example, bad usage of the machine, or if the oil has some bad property like an overheating, or for example some phenomenon of cavitation. It can bring pollutions from inside the system, even if nothing is coming from the outside. And then we also have the external pollution, whereas in that case, it's a contamination that comes from the outside. For example, if you put an accessory to the arm of the excavator, well, it's connected to the hydraulic system, and then if the accessory is polluted, then the whole system can be polluted, and it's very dangerous. Then we also had the oil part, which is more about chemical and physical parts of the oil, and also of the how frequently it is changed. We have the maintenance part, which is about how frequently the maintenance is done, and also if it is done with quality pieces or with old pieces. And finally, the usage block, which is about if the machine is really well calibrated for the work that it's doing, and if the context of the machine is favorable or not for its work. So finally, I'm going to talk a bit about the IT integration of this model that it's still ongoing. To talk a bit about it, to recall that the goal of this model was to be used and usable by the managers, so by some experts that did the model with us, but without giving them more work. So the goal was not to make them fill the model by hand and use it, because it will take too much time given the number of machines that we have. So the goal was to fill the root nodes, so the big rectangular nodes that we have, with all the data that I presented earlier. And so this was a great work that we had to do, and but it appears to be possible. There is a few nodes that we are not able to fill, but well, not directly, but then we ask our IT team to do some modification in our system, in our CMMS, so that the manager can easily provide us the information on those nodes. So, well, this part is still ongoing, but we have the majority of the root nodes that can be filled with automatic data. And in the long term, the goal is to display the result of our model in our CMMS, and also to extend this model on other types of machines, and to do other models on other major types of breakdowns, for example, on motor and kinematic chains, which is the other main type of breakdowns that we can have. So this is it for my presentation. So I hope that you enjoyed it, and you are welcome to ask any question.